Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? It's another midweek game at Paradise, of course, where we're going to win. Celtic went out and we won by 5 goals to 1 against Aberdeen, who were the early season, would-be challengers to the title, as it were, but as the season's progressed, of course, the gap has further widened. We now find Aberdeen in third place, and it doesn't really tell the story of how this match went on the surface level, looking at the scoreline and the gap in points on the table, because, again, I think very similar to previous games against Aberdeen, they showed their mettle in this game. They really showed that they are, like, in terms of domestically, very, very close to being a significant challenger, to Celtic for these matches. This was not smooth sailing, far from it at all. Despite winning by 5 goals to 1, despite having so many different goal scorers, so many different types of goals as well, which we're going to have a lot of fun breaking down in this video, of course. Aberdeen really did not just huff and puff or knock on the door in this game, but they really should have punished Celtic a lot more in this one. And this was a game that Celtic really have to be taking a lot of lessons out of, and I think we did see some fantastic progress in this game from a number of different places, which again we'll break down in the video, as well as going through player ratings, big takeaways, and all that good stuff in between. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we push towards 18,888 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support, guys. So if you do enjoy the content here, hit subscribe for more, of course, and get into the comment section and let me know what I'm getting wrong or right, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, as well as what your big takeaways were from the game. A lot of you guys were in the comment section on the preview video, of course, dropping score predictions and all the rest of it, so I want to know from any of you guys, did any of you call it? Because I predicted this to be quite a tight match. I was between a 2-0, 3-1 kind of score on this one, so I was very, very happy to get so many goals in this one. But yeah, I think with that being said, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, I won't mention his name, right, but for a few of the prediction videos, a few of the preview videos recently, I've been saying it feels like it could be time for Liam Scales to come into the team at some point for Trusty, but the manager has persevered, and with Trusty's form, I really do think against Hibs really being off the boil, and yeah, he did great in Europe and all the rest of it, but he's been on a run of games, and it does feel that for a lot of the team, a lot of them are at, kind of low batteries. They've been ran into the ground, and we really did get a sentiment of that even from Rodgers himself post-match, in terms of contextualising any of the errors or any of the mistakes or any of the passages of play that we weren't at our best defensively or offensively. But that was the only player in the predicted 11 that we got out of place here for Celtic. And for Aberdeen, Daba ended up starting ahead of Guy, who came on at half-time, and Duhan started for Mitov. And I think I would echo the thoughts of Chris Sutton on commentary when he was saying, so weird to see a goalkeeper getting rested because he's just come back from injury at the weekend there, but it seems to be what they went with, as well as, in fact, of course, there was 3 changes. We had Shinnie in for Palaversa on the projected 11. And really, before Celtic score in the 24th minute or whatever it was, we did not look strong at the back. Aberdeen were doing a very good job early on of really getting like 4 versus 4 on us in a quick turnover of play, and really created some quick opportunities where they even got 1v1 with the goalkeeper a few times. They broke through the defence, and all the way through this game, really, there was passages of play where Aberdeen really did look like goal dangerous, so that they could have scored more than the 1 goal that they eventually did get, which was a bit of a gut punch at the end. And I really do feel from that point of view, like Schlupp and Trusty were really subpar in this game. Subsequently, off the back of that, I think Carter Vickers had one of his best games of the season domestically. It felt like he was a one-man defence quite a lot of the time, and he did a great job. Like, no one wanted to play off of him, and every time the ball was, a few times that they broke on this side here and got into this little pocket of space, don't get me wrong, but they were trying to get down at Trusty, they were trying to get down at Schlupp very often. Schlupp was doing his best in this inverted fullback, left-back position that the whole team has been kind of like moulded, not around, but with. And it's clearly not overall his bag, although he does have the versatility of playing both positions by coincidence. And it felt that he kind of played a lot of this game with a handbrake on. And it felt that Trusty, for a lot of this game, did just get caught out of position a few times, or Aberdeen just got the better of him. And sometimes there's just no shame in, somebody's faster than you, or, the ball gets played quickly. People are, football players are all, they can't teleport and read people's minds and stuff like that, So there's just things that'll happen that you can't legislate for, you can't do anything about. But I did feel that even like Schmeichel playing out from the back, so this is where Schmeichel has the ball. We can see where Trusty is, you can see where Schlupp is, and there's definitely this huge space here. The defender's clearly blocking off the passing lane for Trusty, and Schlupp out in this position out wide left here. I don't know if we're okay with him being out there. I don't know if the team instruction is for him to come inside into this vacant big gap in between the 3 players. in this position. I would suspect it probably is Schlupp, if anything. But Trusty's on his heels here. He's ball watching. He's not really even conscious that this man is cutting off a passing lane, and to be on his toes at the very least. And for how close that ball is to Trusty, I think that's his ball, personally. And then you see Schmeichel afterwards where he's pointing. So there was a few times where it looks like maybe they've got a bit of a chance or they've done something okay here, but between maybe not just directly like, you know, Trusty being outpaced by somebody on the break, like in the second half, Shayden Morris got a really good chance where he breaks away from him, or maybe even just like the secondary sequence of play, like with the Schmeichel example, it's like they're playing out from the back, and there was one or two others where if he was maybe a wee bit higher up the pitch engaging a guy like this, then maybe somebody like a McGregor looks out of place all of a sudden very quickly, and this was very reminiscent of the Hibs game. So, you know, Trusty really needs to give himself a bit of a shake. But that being said, the rest of the team, like I mentioned already, did look like they were on really low batteries, you know, like they were playing in second gear, in the sense of like they just couldn't, you know, the revs weren't high enough to go up the gears and get things going. And really that started off, I think, with Jota getting on the ball. It seemed like Jota was very happy to be, you know, I don't want to say cheerleader necessarily, but he was really happy to get the crowd up. He was happy to get on the ball, drive at people, and then when the ball was going out for corners and all the rest of it, you know, just get the place going. And we needed a bit of that because Schlupp, like I mentioned, wasn't really going forward, and he does end up in the box for when the ball bounces around for Daizen to take his goal and finish it, don't get me wrong, but we didn't really get crosses from Schlupp. We didn't really get any like forward passing. We didn't really get any exciting like underlap, overlap kind of stuff, really, for the most part. I don't really remember anything anyway. And there was a lot more pressure on Kun and Jota in the first half to be getting on the ball. And really, before the goal came, there was maybe about 10 minutes where it felt like the play was quite, you know, it sounds quite a harsh thing to say, but the only words I can think of is brain dead, where it was like Kun would be in like this kind of zone here and like cut inside and float a ball in for Daizen and maybe Jota to fight against with all these Aberdeen players, and it just wasn't coming off. And then Jota would get the ball and once or twice would come inside in this kind of area here and try something similar, that kind of chipped, lofted ball in to try and, you know, maybe drop it on the line for a tap in, which is, you know, like fine, but it didn't really look on, you know, these moves, like, and I know you need to kind of play in advance of the game. Good players opened the game up. The movement creates the chance ultimately once the ball's played. I get that, but I felt like it was nobody was even looking. You know, Kun wasn't aware of even who was up there. He was just doing the move blind, you know, like from training kind of thing. Same with Jota. But when Jota finally gets on the ball and does his little, you know, kind of George Cadetti, is this kind of move always reminds me of, where you're just coming across the face of defence. It takes a shot. It just misses. It just goes out before the goal eventually comes from Daizen Maeda off the ricochet. And I think this was the exact thing that we've been saying on this channel for I don't know how long, that Daizen does give you. He's not got great finishing, but he's just got that sniff of where to be in the box, very similar to Leo Labada. That was really one of his qualities, was, you know, he wasn't amazing really at anything, but he just had that knack of being in the 18-yard box in the right space at the right time and could just put the ball in the back of the net. And even with a tricky ball like that, Daizen is just perpetual motion. He does not stop moving, and when that ball's in the air, if any defender is caught having to change their, you know, their running position, their body shape, or anything like that, he's just going to gain every advantage that's there to be gotten, and, you know, just lifting his leg, getting the foot on it like you would in a training session. It was brilliant to see. And Daizen opened the scoring in this game, and he's further enhancing the Player of the Year shouts that have been going out for a little while, and underlining his status as a real talisman for us in a big way. It's not just volume of goals, but it's important goals, and it's goals at important times as well. It's not just when the game's already won and, oh, he's got another goal like he does at the very end of the match, but he decides games. You know, he puts a lot of pressure on and he makes chances count ultimately, especially domestically with the form he's been on. And I don't know if I would call that goal against the run of play, but you definitely felt that really opened the game up for Aberdeen to maybe try and throw a little bit more at the match, be a bit more direct, because they were getting joy, they were making headway in the match, and if they, you know, put a bit more pressure on, and they did, you know, they got some corners, they got some, I don't think they really got any free kicks in the first half, but they definitely got us into our own half enough times where we had space to break out from in transition. And Jota's goal is absolutely brilliant. Started off really deep, great ball from Kun out to Jota, who then finds Engels for the cutback, ultimately for Jota, with Daizen also with his arms in the air screaming for the ball as well. And Jota, like, you know, he got asked after the game about the touch, and I don't think he understood the question, or he didn't want to engage with it, but obviously miskicks it and gets quite fortunate that it does hit the back of the net. But that was a great team goal, and that really did feel like the first time that the players really opened up their legs and we really got like into match mode all of a sudden. And really from there, like the Daizen goal gave us control of the game, put one hand on the wheel, but this goal really just felt like both hands were on the wheel and then everyone was really up and running in a big way. And the best thing about this is a lot of the attacking play was focused on, the front 5 players, if you like. Like the fullbacks didn't play too much of a role for me anyway. In the attacking sense, everything was coming from the playmaking of Engels. Could McGregor kind of nip in and get into some of these spots in and around the box, or Hatate, so it wouldn't be all 6 of them, but whichever of the 5 were kind of relevant to the gameplay at that moment. And, Hatate's distribution, Engels' range of passing, and McGregor's just kind of willingness to go between the lines in these kind of situations just really took the game away from Aberdeen at this point for me. Now, they were still, again, to their credit, their main strength that they came into this game with was breaking away in 2s and 3s, and sometimes, eventually, when the ball gets back to the box, 4v4. So we're never, totally home and hosed, I would say, even at 3-0 at half-time, because as we've seen in these games before, one goal against can quickly become 2, and as soon as there's only 1 goal in it, again, it's game on. So at half-time, Aberdeen are not to be taken lightly. But there's so many positives coming out of this, and I think the main thing with the defence, like I've said in the main piece there that we've spoke about it so far, is Vickers for me was a man mountain, was a one-man defence for large parts of this, and did absolutely fantastic. And the third goal really highlighted that in a big way. Hatate threading the ball in, Daizen trying the little flick for Arne Engels, by the way, who, when you really do examine the midfield in this game, one of the big things I've been kind of crying out for is the midfield to kind of link up a lot more with one another. And I don't think that was really that different in this game, but one thing that was on another level was their interplay, in the sense of just the different positions they were taking up in relation to the ball. Somewhat, normally we see Engels quite rigidly on one side of the pitch and Hatate on the other, or McKeown, depending on who's playing or whatever. But in this game, it felt like Engels, defensively, we found him in this kind of area here recovering, and obviously for McGregor's goal, ultimately when he's challenging the defender, he's in Daizen's shoulder on this side of the pitch. I wouldn't quite say they're telepathic yet, but the synergy we've now got in that midfield 3 is reaching a really sweet spot at the moment, where once you've got that type of rotation, you've got the same kind of threat that I've been kind of asking for in the midfield, where they can open a team up by, normally you would expect them to actually play with one another, but if they can hit the striker, hit the winger, and then the interplay overall works out, then who really cares, I suppose. And it's even McGregor over this side as well, ultimately, because when once Engels kind of challenges for the ball, it spills through to McGregor. It's much closer inside the box, obviously, and he's got to take it on his right foot to beat Duhan. It's just a great sequence of play, and after that second goal, like I say, it just felt like everything went up a level. Now at half-time, Aberdeen did their usual trick that we've actually seen a lot of other teams try and copycat against us ever since they've done this. They did a double substitution at half-time, which seemed planned and kind of, immune from any actual consequences of the match, where we get Guy coming on for Nisbet and Shayden Morris coming on for Oakles, and we see Shayden Morris on this side of the pitch, if memory serves me right, with Guy and Daba still as the two main centre forwards, with Guy coming back into these areas on occasion when needed. And like I mentioned earlier, we see Shayden Morris getting a good run, and he's missed a chance there that, again, Aberdeen would expect to score and hope to score if they're going to get back into this game so early in the second half. But otherwise, we were just strutting our stuff, trying to create some openings, and Aberdeen, there wasn't really much given away in that early period, and it did feel that that third goal really did just give us, not just both hands on the wheel at that point, but we're firmly got the cruise control switched on as well. And then we make our triple substitution, which to my dismay happens on the 59th minute, which ruins my Rio Hatate defender card I've got in my fantasy team. Getting a clean sheet bonus at that point in the match, which would have been lovely. Ida comes on for Kuhn, and we also get Jota off for Yang. And I'm just going to say it. Yang was brilliant. We've been saying on this channel since the guy came to the club, and ever since, everything we've seen from him, when you're looking for a young player, and Odenholm was a good example of this as well, in the kind of the opposite side of the coin, you should get an idea of what their main quality is. We spoke about USP with some players and what they kind of give to the team. And the number one thing that we've always given Yang his flowers for is he is fearless, he is direct, he's got pace, and he wants to take people on. He wants to be the guy that gets into the box and makes something happen. And that, his goal in this game is the definition of grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. Now, me and you, everyone knows the score at that time in the match, but this is still against Aberdeen. This is still a crucial time in the match where if he is coming on to play for Celtic, it's probably in the 70th minute, the 60th minute against anyone. It's unlikely he's going to be a regular starter at this point in time. But he picks up the ball on the right hand side, he drives through the middle, plays a nice 1-2 with Engels, plays a wee 1-2 with McKeown, plays him through, and the finish, he does so well to catch it in between the keeper and the front post. It was fine margins and it was a lovely taken goal. But this is a repeatable goal, let's say. He's got that pace, he's got that passing ability, he's got that willingness to get into those spaces, to go all the way across the pitch to find a gap to play in through. And, like, I don't think there's any downplaying. It was a great goal. It's real winger goal as well, where, again, the thing that we've always kind of given Yang on this is the thing he's been missing, that bit of quality, that little bit of development, that little bit of composure, is something he has the potential to get. And to pull this goal off, he's had moments in matches where he's tried stuff like this before, and maybe like the pass to Engels, he fluffs it, or the second pass to McKeown isn't great, or he runs offside. You know, like, it's been always just a bit, it's not really coming off, it's not really happening for him, and it doesn't take much for some of this stuff to just come off and look a little bit better. Now, this is a huge win for Yang, for me. Like, I think it's massive for him. I think it gives him a real credible place in the squad depth, certainly for the remainder of the season, and I won't have him begrudged any minutes, really, at this point. He's had lots of minutes, he's been swimming in the deep end with the injury to James Forrest. And, you know, we spoke about it a week or two ago. If you look through his tail of the tape, his goals, his assists or whatever, he's had like 2 taken away from him. I can't remember what the specific reasons were, but there was a goal and an assist that he's not got because maybe one of them was an OG and maybe one of them get VAR'd off and it shouldn't have, or something. I can't remember. But he's won a couple of penalties. He's now added another goal into the mix, and when you look at it over the tail of the tape of his whole career, of course the numbers are terrible, but when you just examine it over the most meaningful period, which is the last, let's just call it 3 months, how much more progression can you ask from a guy? This is brilliant. He's been lively against Bayern Munich, he's been lively against Aberdeen, he's been lively against everyone that we've asked him to come on for. And if we're making subs at the 60th minute, the 80th minute, we need some more pace, we need some more threat and attack. Really, what more are we asking for at this point? And then we got another highlight of the match for me, where we got academy graduate, I think we can call him now, Jude Bonnar, making his league debut for Celtic, coming on for Arne Engels. And I think just to finish off the subs, we also had Schlupdog coming off for Scaldini, which we will speak about, and I promise I won't mention his name in the preview for the weekend because I'm just done with it at this point. But these are the last subs that we had in the game. And Jude Bonnar is a player that honestly I was so impressed with. I think it might have been the Leipzig game, but the Celtic B Champions League matches that Celtic here were in attendance for, and we did some reviews for. There's a playlist on the channel homepage you can find, and you can go and watch those videos and you can hear my analysis on all the academy players and how they performed. We had some pretty good matches to analyse, which was great fun. But Jude Bonnar was one of my favourite players that came out of that, because he was not just like, in the first match, I mentioned this in one of the previews because he was on the bench, and we were kind of, was it Hibs at the weekend, where we were kind of guessing or hypothesising maybe he would get his debut there at Easter Road, but no, he ends up coming on the bench at this one. But one of the things, like, the first time I seen him, I didn't think he was that great. He didn't really pass the eye test for me. But then when I watched back the highlights of the game, he was actually really effective in all the key moments, which was just something sometimes you miss in the stadium. You know, I don't know if you've been to Lesser Hampden, but it's not you don't always necessarily get the best view of everything that's going on exactly. But then the subsequent matches, like there was one game where he played left wing of the front three. So if you imagine it's the same kind of Celtic formation that the B team play, he was playing left wing. But when we were off the ball, the left centre, so the McKeown or the Hatate or whatever, was, like, you know how Hatate sometimes is really wide and likes to receive the ball on the line? They were doing that off the ball. They were being in that position. And Jude Bonnar was filling in here and making it like a 5-man midfield, because this guy was still like centre mid, obviously. And Josh DD was involved as well. I would need to get my notepad out to remember exactly how it went. But I remember being distinctly impressed about his football IQ, his game intelligence to play this role, where he was actually still pressing as like a left winger, like we would see like Jota do or something like that. But when he was off the ball, dropping back into midfield, or even from deep when we had to transition up the pitch, in every match I've seen him play, like his pass selection, his positioning, it's all been really good. And you heard Brendan Rodgers' praise of him after the match in terms of his profile and all the kind of determination, all the work he's putting in behind the scenes, as it were, and the commitment he's got. He's the sort of player we're looking to bring through. And when I heard that, like, that makes me really happy, because he's very much demonstrated to me already at as good a level as you could probably find him at this point in his career, to be a really switched on player. And like his execution in terms of, technique, his passing ability, and I've not really seen him shoot from the top of off the top of my head. He's maybe had a chance or two, but none spring to mind. But this is a guy that, again, between now and the end of the season, if we can get him some, let's say significant minutes, what would that look like? In this game, he got the last 10 minutes. So if we take that as an average, maybe sometimes he gets the last 3, maybe once or twice he gets 15. Could he get to there's 10 games left in the league. I don't see him playing Cup, to be honest with you. We've got 2 derbies in there, so 8 games where it's feasible you would see him. So yeah, we're after him playing 90 minutes essentially. If we can get him up to 90 minutes between now and end of the season, I guess that would be as significant minutes as we could really expect for him. And I don't actually think he did anything in this game. I think I remember seeing him on the ball once, maybe twice, in terms of making a little pass. Didn't seem phased. And when Daniel Kelly got his chance last year, I was really surprised, because when I'd watched him in the B team, he looked good and stuff, but he didn't stand out as the guy that should be coming in to get a chance in the first team. The matches I've seen Bonnar play really well as well, by the way. Francis Turley also played in, and I thought he looked really good as well. A bit more, actually quite similar to Matt O'Reilly in terms of his frame, and he's a bit more attacking in that way as well. Bonnar, I don't know if I could really pin down, because like I say, I've seen him play all over, really, for Celtic B, and I'm not too sure. Maybe it is this kind of Engels position. I think stature-wise and quality-wise, like I was mentioning, distribution, ability to progress play, he could be a little shadow for Arne Engels. I could see that happening quite easily, but yeah, let's just see how it shakes out for little Jude Bonnar, or big Jude Bonnar, maybe. Great to see his debut. Hail to him. And I'm sure him and his family are absolutely buzzing, because I know I would be. So then we come to the Aberdeen goal, okay, where this is a quick breakaway. Aberdeen have been doing this the whole match. They've been doing very, very well at turning defence into attack and getting 4v4, 3v3 or whatever, all the rest of it. And we can see here that, Trusty, Vickers, his leg is just in shot here, Scales. The defence is all really high. They've all got to be in retreat mode. They've all got to be protect the castle mode. Get back, stop the ball if possible if you get anywhere near it. But if not, follow your runner, protect the centre ground and get back to the box. Which I've not got any problem in how we're trying to recover here. Everyone is following their man. Everyone is kind of doing their best to stick in here and make it as hard as possible. But we then get to the point of decision making for the forward, where he's got to decide now what he's got to do. He's ran. He's had everyone in retreat mode. He's now got into a position where he needs to now punish us in some way, move the ball on, take the defender out the equation, get into the box 1v1 with the keeper, something. Trusty's delaying him, and Trusty again is in decision making mode. Does he engage and risk doing himself and giving the space in behind him, or does he stand up and keep the onus on the attacker? And I'm always in favour of, to a point, let the attacker make the mistake, because we should have players recovering that this guy's not aware of, that's going to stop any opportunity that he's going to try and play in, or could even take the ball off him directly. Our man cuts inside, buys himself a yard of space off a Trusty. Trusty now needs to reposition and go for it here. And you guys, you can tell me if I'm being too harsh, right? But between Vickers and McGregor, I'm expecting one of them to engage the ball here. Now, McGregor is ball side. He has no obstruction to the ball. Vickers runs in and behind him to cover space for I don't really know what, to be honest with you. He's also got to continue his run diagonally, so I've not really looked at Vickers under the microscope here, so we'll see what he does in a second. But I would have expected someone by now, Trusty, McGregor, maybe Vickers, someone to have engaged the ball by now, even just touching it like we've spoken. But you don't always need to win it. Maybe it's a foul you need to give away, whatever. But no one's engaged with the ball, and once it switches over here, Liam Scales he's in no man's land. He's sold out. He's just come on. He's no played in a month. You know what I mean? And I'm a big Scales fan, as you guys know. He could have done better for this, of course, because he gets wrong-footed. Morris buys the space off him easy enough to then beat Schmeichel at the near post, and Scales will be gutted that he's not done better there, and I'm gutted for him. He didn't do better there, but when I see people saying this is Scales' fault. And for the last goal, again, from Yang, what more can you want from especially a winger coming off the bench? He gets the ball on the line here, comes inside, takes essentially 5 Aberdeen players out, with 3 getting attracted to him. The pass he plays down the line for Alistair Johnson takes the rest of them out, and then it is literally Yang and Daizen Maeda that are breaking into the box to get on the end of that cross from Alistair Johnson. Yang does great to take a bit of attention and, just have the defence occupied, as it were. And Daizen Maeda scoring one of those goals that just never seemed to actually go in. That one where the guy is behind every defender and it gets whipped into the back post and it's just an instinctive one-touch finish. It crashes into the back of the net. Normally, you've got to be coming in front of one of the defenders to beat it in this area here. But we had great pace and great space, which is what you need to actually make these goals count. I just normally don't like strikers taking up that position. It just reminds me of Anthony Stokes hiding in matches and expecting people to put poor worldly crosses right onto his head. You've got to get in front of people a lot of the time. But Daizen, pace and space is certainly the emblem here of the front three and all the goals that happened in this game. Alistair Johnston getting his assist at the end of the game is a great little statistic, a wee stat padder for him, because he had a good game in this one. And I think with the efforts he's been putting in over the season, the more stats he can get to kind of exemplify or highlight how good a season he's had, I'm all about that. And Yang, again, I think quietly very, very good for that. And isn't this just a sight for sore eyes? The statistics in this game for the Celtic players are through the roof. Lots of positive actions in this game, lots of positive contributions all over the pitch, really. Man of the match, Arne Engels, comes out of this game with a 100, they got 101.6, but a 100 out of 100 performance here. He was fouled 3 times, won a tackle. Duels won 6, only lost 3, so as a ratio, that's absolutely fantastic. Accurate passes 55, which is a lot for Engels. 16 of them into the final third, which would have been some corners and free kicks and whatever. Only 7 missed passes, and given the range of passing that he's shown and the risk that his passes have, very, very good numbers. And then when we're looking at the attacking aspect of it, 5 balls into the box, 4 attempted assists, so 4 balls that he's played into the box have resulted in someone getting a shot, 1 big chance created. He's got a shot on target from himself at the edge of the box, which he was a little bit unlucky with, to be fair. He does get 2 assists. He does get the assist for Callum McGregor's goal as well. Right in behind him is probably player of the season in the making, Daizen Maeda, with an 85.3 out of 100. 2 shots on target, 3 contests won, which is like proper dribbles where you're driving with the ball and you take the defender out the equation. Duels won and lost, high volume, maybe not quite the success ratio that we want. Only 3 missed chances for Daizen. No big chances missed, which we love to see. He's actually won a tackle and effective clearance as well for him. This guy does absolutely everything. Only fouled once, which Daizen is not fouled enough officially. He has kicked lumps out of in so many matches and refs just let it happen. Right in and behind Daizen was captain Callum McGregor with an 82.9 out of 100. Great performance from him overall. It felt like he really did was on the ball a lot more effectively in this match. Gets his goal, he's penetrating the box, his only touch in the box, as the commentary team told us as well. But he won 2 tackles, he made a block, had some effective clearances there. He won way more duels than he lost, an interception. Pass volume, lower than what we've seen from McGregor, but that's a trend that we've seen carry on now in this section of the season. We're seeing more from Engels, we're seeing more from Hatate in terms of them carrying the water in midfield, so that's great to see the evolution of the midfield kind of showing itself up in some sort of statistic, I guess. 1 shot on target, 1 contest, 1 attempted assist. Right in and behind him was Jota, which, Jota is always a great performer when he gets a goal or an assist in a match, because statistically, he's such a positive contributor to the match. He gets 2 shots on target, a dribble, 1, 6 balls he played into the box, which for a guy that's not taking any set pieces, his chances he's making and playing balls in there, from his own back. Possession lost 12, you give the Maverick players that kind of thing. 9 of that would have been missed passes, of course. 22 accurate passes, 9 of them in the final third. And an accurate long ball, which might have been the ball for Engels, which led to his goal eventually. So a high value action, it must be said. No defensive contribution, and he was fouled 3 times, which again, for a guy like him, you want to see the fouls racking up. But actually, right in and behind Jota, would you believe, is actually Luke McKeown. He comes off the bench to get an assist for Yang's goal, and he also caught 15 points in all around. So his all around score, he got fouled once. The duels won and lost is 3 each, which is decent volume for how little he was on the pitch. An interception, only 2 missed passes. Pass volume isn't actually too bad, is it? And a lot of it was in the final third. It resulted in attempted assists. Big chance created, of course, the assist he got in the end. And balls into the box. That's a wee funny statistical thing there. But it is actually Alistair Johnston who, without any clean sheet points in this one, because Celtic didn't get the clean sheet in this one, sadly, it's all on his actual contributions on the pitch. He got his big chance created with the assist, obviously, but 4 balls into the box. He didn't actually win any duels in this one, but he made 2 interceptions, high pass count as well, similar to McGregor's pass count. 7 missed passes. Not much of a defensive contribution from AJ, it must be said. There was much more kind of positional and on the ball. So statistically, 71. Yang right in and behind him with 71.2. 5 points from his attacking contribution here, an attempted assist, his dribble 1, his shot on target, of course, for the goal. And the duel volume, again, really good. The success percentage, we maybe want to lift that up a bit. But from actually watching his game, like, it's hard. This is when statistics, again, you kind of take them with a pinch of salt, because how many of his interactions with Aberdeen players were actually clocked as a duel? You know, if you think about his goal and how many people he's skirting by, not all of that is duel getting one. So again, it doesn't tell you everything, it just maybe highlights some things that we've seen, or maybe raise something to our attention that we didn't notice at the time. And then we're looking at Carter Vickers with a 68.6 out of 100. He's done very, very well defensively here. 5 effective clearances, 2 blocks for the big man. Duels won 4, only lost 1. 2 interceptions, 117 passes for the big man. And like I say, he was a one-man defence for me for the most part of this game. Didn't put a foot wrong. Domestically, one of his best performances for me, just in terms of, like, it didn't feel like you see with AJ, not much of a defensive contribution. Let's just look at Trusty. I think he is next in the pecking order anyway. 1 tackle, 3 clearances. Duels, actually his duels won and lost ratio is very good, but I think the ones that he did lose all were significant, weren't they? Huge pass count for Trusty as well. So the centre backs are still getting the same kind of mad volume of passes at home as normal, but McGregor is just less, like, error to shot here for Trusty. I think that might be the Schmeichel one. I don't know if he's getting that credit, I suppose, on the stats. But yeah, they're finding different players more in open play, so that's interesting to see. I thought Hatate had quietly a good game, came off quite early in the match, and I think that's because he's probably going to start at St Mirren. Maybe Engels will be rotated for that game. Let's see how that one pans out. Away from home against St Mirren, I don't know if that's a game you really rotate for, given that they've just beat Rangers and we've played this calibre of team to play at home to Aberdeen. We're still very much playing the best 11, it feels like, and with not much depth in and behind. This might have just been minute management overall, because Engels didn't finish the 90 minutes. That's how Jude Bonnar got his minutes in the end, and that might be something reoccurring like we've mentioned earlier. Betade's done okay. None of these statistics really jump off the page to me in any way. It was just a lot of lovely interlinking play, being in dangerous positions and doing the right thing with the ball, and if it's a pass, it's a pass. So it doesn't really jump out off the page in that sense. And really everyone else was pretty meh, weren't they? Schlupp, like I mentioned, I don't think he did anything in this game. Like, I think he was a bit of a passenger, to be honest with you. He just didn't really do too much. Yeah, like, wasn't great. 14 missed passes, is that the highest of anyone we've seen in this so far? 20 possession lost. You normally do allow a little bit more for fullbacks, but he wasn't really a fullback in this game, was he? And yeah, I think my big takeaway from this game is, like I mentioned before, like, Jota is here to entertain. Daizen Maeda is the talisman, is the marksman of the squad, and it feels like Engels is really turning into a real, for all the areas of the pitch he was effective in this match, and the form that we've seen him continue to compound in and improve, is becoming a real Rolls Royce number 8 midfielder, a real, you know, a guy for all occasions, as it were. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. On screen now, some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Hail, hail, and Moan the Hoops.